Ji, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, all my dear students. So, let's start with our next lecture of the Constitution of Pakistan. Uh, First of all, I would address a couple of questions received from your fellows regarding our previous lectures. One of them was that about Government of India Act 1935, that the Constitution was providing for federalism, but the polity of the Constitution was unitary. So, what is the difference between federalism and unitary? Basically, in federal type of government, there is a central government, a central legislature, as well as there are provincial governments and the provincial legislatures. The central government, it used to keep some powers, legislative and executive. As you may know that we got a concurrent list, a provincial list and a federal list. So some powers they rest with the federal government, and most of the powers they are devoluted to the provincial governments and the provincial legislatures. And the provincial governments they coordinate, they work together with the central government, and the central government it did not take any lead in the dispensation of the affairs of the provincial matters. Conversely, in the unitary form of government, they used to have a very strong central government, which is keeping most of the powers, including the foreign affairs, internal affairs, finance, education, health, etc. And they also have provincial governments and provincial legislatures sometimes, and they may not have as well. It is not necessary though. And in that case, they used to exercise very limited powers, and the central government it can supervise, it had discretion to guide the provincial governments that what direction they have to take. So this constitution, coming back to the question of 1935 Government of India Act, practically it was providing for federalism, but as a matter of fact it was more like a unitary form of government, where the governor generals they used to have a very strong supervisory discretionary role to play under the authority of the crown, the king or the queen, while the provincial governments, even the prime minister and the governors of the provinces and the chief ministers of provinces, they were subordinate to the governor general, and the central government was all in all. So that's why we called it that it was its polity was unitary, but practically it was a federal type of constitution. Now let's discuss the second question, which was related to the trial of General Musharraf. This question is related to Article 6, which is talking about the high treason. So the question was that the trial of Mr. Musharraf that was supposed to be carried out by the Majlis-e-Shura, by the Parliament, but as a matter of fact it was conducted by the court. So why is that? So the answer is Majlis-e-Shura is not authorized to do the trial of high treason, and it's not mentioned anywhere. I think the student is confused about subsection 3 of Article 6, which is stating that Majlis-e-Shura shall by law provide for the punishment of persons found guilty of high treason. It means to say that the Majlis-e-Shura, the Parliament, it will do legislation, it will make law accordingly that what punishment should be granted to a person who is accused of high treason. It doesn't mean that Majlis-e-Shura by itself it will conduct the trial of a culprit. It's not a court, it's a parliament, and its main prerogative is is legislation. Yes, to some extent it can conduct inquiries, but it's not a trial court. The trial would be done, of course, by a court, by the special court, by the Supreme Court, or by any court nominated by the Supreme Court in this regard. So I hope I answered both of the questions. Now let's start with the principles of policy. Chapter 2. These are the basic guidelines within which the state shall remain, and while dispensing its affairs, while running the affairs of state, the state will keep in view, will abide by these principles of policy. So let's start with Article 29. The principles set out in this chapter shall be known as the principles of policy, and it is the responsibility of each organ and authority of the state and of each person performing functions on behalf of an organ or authority of the state to act in accordance with these principles insofar as they relate to the functions of the organ or authority. Insofar as subsection 2, the observance of any particular principles of policy may be dependent upon resources being available for the purpose. The principle shall be regarded as being subject to the availability of resources. So it is stating that in this chapter we are going to discuss the principles of policy, which every department, every organ of the state, including the legislature, the judicature, the executive and the subordinate authorities, the ministries, the departments and other entities, and every officer of the state, he or she is supposed to abide by these principles of policy while executing its affairs, and depending upon the nature of circumstances, its dispensation and its execution will dependent upon the available resources. کہ جی ہم اس کی پاسداری تو کریں گے لیکن ہم اویلیبل ریسورسز کی بنیاد پہ اس کو دیکھیں گے اور لے کے چلیں گے. Subsection 3, in respect of each year, the president in relation to the affairs of the federation and the governor of each province in relation to the affairs of his province shall cause to be prepared and laid before each house of Majlis-e-Shura Parliament, or as the case may be the provincial assembly, a report on the observance and implementation of the principles of policy, and provision shall be made in the rules of procedure of the National Assembly and the Senate, or as the case may be the Provincial Assembly, for discussion on such a report. So this is required by the Constitution of Pakistan, that every year the President of Pakistan in relation to the federation, in relation to the affairs of federation, shall submit a report to the Parliament of Pakistan, both houses, the National Assembly of Pakistan and the Senate, an annual report about the observation and adherence of these principles of policy by the federal government. Similarly, governors will submit a similar report in the provincial assemblies regarding the adherence of the principles of policy by the provincial governments. So this need to be done every year, and the assemblies concerned, they will make rules about the discussion of those reports in the houses. Now let's talk about Article 30, which is related to responsibility with respect to principles of policy. The responsibility of deciding whether any action of an organ or authority of the state or of a person performing functions on behalf of an organ or authority of the state is in accordance with the principles of policies that of the organ or authority of the state or of the person concerned. So this is talking about the responsibility, that who is responsible with respect to principles of policy, that this is the responsibility of every organ of the state, in case of judicature, in case of executive, in case of legislature, or in case of any commercial activity, company owned by the government. This is their responsibility to make it sure that whether they are adhering to the principles of policy as outlined in the Constitution of Pakistan. Subsection 2, the validity of an action or of a law shall not be called in question on the ground that it is not in accordance with the principles of policy, and no action shall lie against the state, any organ or authority of the state, or any person on such ground. Now this is little bit controversial, that at one side you are providing for the adherence of the principles of policy, and you are directing to the organs of the state and their subsidiaries to abide by these principles, and on the other side you are the constitution is protecting the government institutions, organs, that if any act of any organ of the state or any subsidiary of it is against the principles of policy, that cannot be called in question in any court of law, and it cannot be invalidated by the court of law. So this is a little bit confusing and controversial. Next, let's talk about Article 31, which is related to Islamic way of life. So in it, it is stating that steps shall be taken to enable the Muslims of Pakistan individually and collectively to order their lives in accordance with the fundamental principles and basic concepts of Islam, and to provide facility whereby they may be enabled to understand the meanings of life according to the Holy Quran and Sunnah. So this is stating that arrangements shall be made to facilitate the citizens of Pakistan to abide by and to live their lives according to the injunctions of Islam and Quran and Sunnah, and they will be facilitated in this regard to the maximum extent so that they can abide by the fundamental principles and basic concepts of Islam as outlined in the books. Next, the state shall endeavor as respects the Muslims of Pakistan to make the teachings of the Holy Quran and Islamiyat compulsory, to encourage and facilitate the learning of Arabic language, and to secure correct and exact printing and publishing of the Holy Quran. So in this subsection, state is taking 3 or 4 responsibilities in respect of citizens of Pakistan. Number 1, it is guaranteeing the education of Islamiyat as well as of the Holy Quran to every citizen of Pakistan at school level. Secondly, it is promising to promote the learning of Arabic language, and thirdly, it is promising to protect the true and intact versions of Holy Quran. تو اس کی اگر ہم بات کریں تو اسلامیات تو نو ڈاؤٹ ہمارے کورس کا حصہ رہی ہے، اور ہم سب نے اپنی پرائمری ایجوکیشن، سیکنڈری ایجوکیشن اور ہائر سیکنڈری ایجوکیشن میں بھی اس کو پڑھا ہے. لیکن بہرحال ہولی ایز فار ایز دی ٹیچنگ آف ہولی قرآن از کنسرنڈ, I think this promise hasn't been fulfilled completely. This responsibility was not taken by the state in its true letter and spirit, and the people of Pakistan, they have to make their own arrangements in respect of teachings of Holy Quran. Next, subsection B, to promote unity and the observance of the Islamic moral standards. State of Pakistan is promising to uphold unity among all sects of Islam, among all fiqhs, all subdivisions and further divisions, and it is also promising to uphold the moral standards and the Islamic values in the society. And lastly, it is promising to secure the proper organization of zakat, awqaf and mosques. اور زکوٰۃ کی ذمہ داری بھی لے رہی ہے کہ ہم اس کی پراپر آرگنائزیشن کریں گے. اس کا بھی کوئی خاص میکانزم ریاست میں موجود نہیں ہے. اوقاف اور مساجد کی ارینجمنٹ کا اور ان کی آرگنائزیشن کا اس کا بھی انتظام کریں گے. یہ بھی ذمہ داری کو زیادہ ایکسٹینسولی ریاست یا وہ فلفل نہیں کر رہی. اس کے بعد ہے جی آرٹیکل 32 پروموشن آف لوکل گورنمنٹ انسٹیٹیوشنز. اس کو آپ دیکھ لیجئے گا. اور نیکسٹ ہے آرٹیکل 33 parochial and other similar prejudices to be discouraged. The state shall discourage parochial, racial, tribal, sectarian and provincial prejudices among the citizens. تو اس میں اسٹیٹ جو ہے وہ پرومس کر رہی ہے کہ ہم تنگ نظری جو ہے اس کو جو ہے وہ ڈسکریج کیا جائے گا ریاست پاکستان میں. اور اس کی کمیونٹیز میں، اور انکریج کیا جائے گا کہ لوگ براڈ مائنڈڈ ہوں اور ایک دوسرے کو اسپیس دیں، اور ایک دوسرے کے نظریات، خیالات، مذہبی عقائد یا سیکٹیرین عقائد جو ہیں ان کے لیے اسپیس پیدا کریں، اور یہ ایک سافٹ اور سموتھ ایک سوسائٹی ہو، ایک وائلنٹ سوسائٹی نہ ہو، اس کے لیے ارینجمنٹس کیے جائیں گے۔ اسی طرح ریشیل جو پریجوڈسز ہیں ریس کے حوالے سے، نسل کے حوالے سے، جیسے یہ ہماری کمیونل ڈفرینسز ہیں، ذات پات کے حوالے سے، لینگویج کے حوالے سے، یا ٹیریٹوریل انہیبیٹنسی کے حوالے سے کہ پنجاب، سندھ اور بلوچ اور پشتون وغیرہ کے حوالے سے، یا کوئی ٹرائبل کوئی رائیولریز ہیں یا اس کے حوالے سے پریجوڈسز ہیں، سیکٹیرین ہیں، پروونشل ہیں امنگ دی سٹیزنز، اس کو ڈسکریج کیا جائے گا، اور یہ کوشش کی جائے گی کہ پاکستان کے تمام جو سٹیزنز ہیں وہ برادرانہ طور پر مل جل کے اپنے ان تمام چھوٹے موٹے اختلافات کو بھلا کے ایک پاکستان کے سٹیزن بن کے، ایک شہری بن کے وہ اپنی زندگی جو ہے وہ ایک ہارمنی کے ساتھ وہ گزاریں۔ اس پہ بھی جو ہے وہ ابھی ہمیں بہت سارا کام کرنے کی ضرورت ہے، اس میں بہت ساری اسپیس موجود ہے، ہمیں چیزوں کو ابھی سنکرونائز کرنے کی، سسٹمائز کرنے کی ابھی بہت ضرورت ہے، اور اس میں ابھی لوگوں کی جو ہے لیک آف ایجوکیشن بہرحال ہم فیل کرتے ہیں آف اینڈ آن سوسائٹی میں۔ نیکسٹ ہے جی آرٹیکل 34، فل پارٹیسپیشن آف وومین ان نیچرل لائف۔ Steps shall be taken to ensure full participation of women in all spheres of national life۔ خواتین کی زندگی کے تمام جو لائف کے، سوسائٹی کے سیگمنٹس ہیں، ٹھیک ہے جی، معاشرتی، اکنامیکل، سوشل، ان میں ایکول پارٹیسپیشن کی اکارڈنگ ٹو دیئر competence, their merit, that shall be ensured, and women shall not be discouraged only due to their sex, that they are women, and men shall not be prioritized, preferred just due to their sexuality. So this is also provided by the Constitution of Pakistan. Yes, we are observing a little bit improvement in this regard, as the women of Pakistan, they are gaining acceleration in this respect, and they are getting more involved in different segments of society, especially in health and education sector. Next is Article 36, protection of minorities. The state shall safeguard the legitimate rights and interests of minorities, including their due representation in the federal and provincial services. منارٹیز کی بات ہو رہی ہے جی کہ منارٹیز کے جو انٹرسٹ ہیں ان کو سیف گارڈ کیا جائے گا۔ جو مذہبی اقلیتیں ہیں، ہندوز ہیں، کرسچنز ہیں، سکھس ہیں، بدھسٹ ہیں، ان کے جو لیجیٹیمیٹ رائٹ اور انٹرسٹ ڈسپائٹ آف دی فیکٹ دیٹ دے آر belonging to a minor class, they will be protected and they will be considered as equal citizens of Pakistan. And similarly, the people of backward classes and areas, for example, people of Cholistan, people of southern Punjab, people of Balochistan, and the interior Sindh, people of other backward areas who are relatively less developed, less educated, reasonable arrangements shall be made by the state to bring them at par with the other people, other citizens of Pakistan. So this is also provided by the Constitution of Pakistan. Next is Article 37, promotion of social justice and eradication of social evils. اس میں دی اسٹیٹ شیل promote with special care the educational and economic interest of backward classes or areas, as we discussed before in Article 36. Remove illiteracy and provide free and compulsory secondary education within minimum possible period. So this is the basic right, this is the fundamental right of every citizen of Pakistan to get basic secondary education in schools in Pakistan. Next, make technical and professional education generally available and higher education equally accessible to all on the basis of merit. ٹیکنیکل اور پروفیشنل ایجوکیشن ہے یا جو ہائر ایجوکیشن ہے یہ ایکسیسیبل کی جائے گی آن میرٹ. اور یس دس از ایز ویل ایون آفٹر 70 years ناؤ وی آر بینگ ایبل ٹو پرووائڈ یونیورسٹیز ایٹ ڈسٹرکٹ لیول وچ شوڈ ہیو بن ڈن وائل بیفور. تو اب آپ دیکھیں کہ ڈسٹرکٹ لیول پہ یونیورسٹیز بن رہی ہیں, ہائر ایجوکیشن آ رہی ہے اور ٹیکنیکل ایجوکیشن کے ادارے جو ہیں وہ بھی اسٹیبلش ہو رہے ہیں. نیکسٹ ہے جی انشور ان ایکسپینسو اینڈ ایکسپیڈیس جسٹس. یس آئی تھنک دس از دی ایریا, دس از دی اسفیئر ویئر دی اسٹیٹ has to do a lot yet because practically in our courts the judicial system of Pakistan it is not fulfilling the demands, the requirements and the aspirations of the people of Pakistan. We got the problem of fair trial, we got the problem of lengthy trials and the dispensation of justice in its true letter and spirit is also a questionable thing till yet. So Bahral theoretically constitution is providing that inexpensive and expeditious justice shall be provided to every citizen of Pakistan at his or her doorstep. Next, make provision for securing just and humane conditions of work, ensuring that children and women are not employed in vocations unsuited to their age or sex, and for maternity benefits for women in employment. Yes, خواتین اور بچوں کے لیے جو ہے ان کی امپلائمنٹ جو ہے وہ ریزنیبل ہوگی, جو کہ ان کی ایج اور ان کی جینڈر سے ایکویٹیبل ہوگی, اور کنسیڈرنگ دی میٹرنٹی کنڈیشنز آف وومن اینڈ دی میٹرنٹی benefits shall be granted to them. I think this subsection is little bit confusing with the right to education, where at one side we are providing for compulsory education to the children of Pakistan and prohibition of labor by the child. On the other hand, we are providing for the necessary arrangements and division of work keeping in view the suitability of the gender and the age. So this is a little bit confusing thing. Next, we move to subsection F, enable the people of different areas through education, training, agriculture, industrial development and other methods to participate fully in all forms of national activities, including employment in the services of Pakistan. So the state of Pakistan is promising to upbring the economical, the social conditions of people of Pakistan of different areas by providing them agricultural, industrial development, as well as the right to participate in the government service of Pakistan. Subsection G है जी, prevent prostitution, gambling and taking of injurious drugs, printing, publication, circulation and display of obscene literature and advertisement. Prostitution, gambling اور جو ڈرگز ہیں یا اور اسی طرح سے آبسین مٹیریل کی پرنٹنگ, پبلشنگ, ایڈورٹائزمنٹ, دیٹ از پروہیبٹڈ بائی دی پاکستان. نیکسٹ, پریونٹ دی کنزمپشن آف الکوہلک لکوئر ادروائز دین فار میڈیسینل اینڈ ان دی کیس آف نان مسلمز ریلیجیس پرپزز ڈرنکنگ آف الکوہل according to Islam is prohibited. We got Hudud laws on it and we have got very severe punishments on it. So this is prevented by the Constitution of Pakistan, but yes, it is allowed for medicinal purposes if it is necessary for the health and safety of a person as a medicine, then it can be used, and similarly it can be used by the non-Muslims. Lastly, decentralize the government administration so as to facilitate expeditious disposal of its business to meet the convenience and requirements of the public. Yes, in it I think that the state of Pakistan is miserably failing from last 7 decades. This is theoretically the Constitution of Pakistan is providing for the decentralization of government, and by decentralization, yes, of course, we mean to say the administration at district level or tehsil level, but unfortunately, we have seen centralization of government in Pakistan instead. The concentration of powers in the central government and the provincial governments, and the absence of local bodies in at district level and tehsil level. If we talk about the current scenario, you can see that we don't have any local government system as we are talking. So yes, we have got plenty of things theoretically, but we have go a lot forward in practical terms in this regard. So that's it for today. Thank you very much.